my last video, part of my face is missing, so I don't know if you can see me in this video, but I don't have the energy or time to edit it, so apologies for that. If you can't see my face, the main thing is that you can hear what I say. Hopefully I'm not speaking too fast. I do have a tendency at times to talk too fast. It is hard to stop. My mum used to always say, slow down Anna, stop speaking so fast. It is kind of part of my autism, and I do understand that some of you might find it hard at times to follow me. I do apologise, I understand. It's just part of my autism. It's kind of hard at times to slow down. I do try. But there we go. But like I was in a previous video, it's suddenly got really dark, isn't it? I'll just keep the light off. I was just going through the case notes on my issues that the person from the commissioning team wrote up. As I say, I'm meeting again next week. I had another, in a conversation recently with my psychologist, who's very supportive, and I get on with her very well, and I've sort of built up some trust with her. I guess she's a good one, pleased with her. She fully supports my need for a cleaner and doesn't understand why I'm being denied one. And she made the point, which I thought was actually very good, because I agree with it and it makes a lot of sense. And I hadn't really thought about it like this before. But she said that if my special interest wasn't cooking, but say was, I don't know, something more technical, like coding or something, or like one of those really geeky interests, like being obsessed with computers that some autistics have, maybe I might find it easier to get a cleaner, or for them to see it as a social care need, because if I was neglecting to eat, say, and some autistics do neglect to eat because it's not their priority or not their area of interest. For me, it is my area of interest. But if my autism meant that what am I trying to say? If I was really interested in, say, computers or some other area like that, and not interested in cooking, and I wasn't eating properly, they might see me as being more practically challenged. So I'm just going to turn the heating off. It's suddenly got really hot. So it's very... It was cold and now it's hot. They might see me as more practically challenged. Obviously you can't choose what you're interested in if you're autistic, and I just so happen to be very, very focused on cooking. It's something I'm very interested in. So despite the fact that I have really severe executive dysfunction, and despite the fact I have really quite severe challenges in like the non-verbal practical areas of life, which have been tested and shown. So I had a full cognitive assessment back in 2018, so it's all on paper. His lifelong problems that were also identified as a child as well. But because I'm very interested in cooking, I've obviously spent a lot of time devoting myself to that one area, like autistic monofocus. If we're really interested in something, we can excel, even if it's in an area we might not normally be good at, if that makes sense. I guess another example of that would be, say if you're autistic and obsessed with Lego, okay? You can make really intricate designs out of Lego. That involves a lot of planning, a lot of coordination, and yet you can't tie your shoelaces, but you can make these really intricate designs out of Lego. It's a similar sort of thing, isn't it? Just because you could do one thing doesn't mean you could do another thing, because if it happens to be your particular area of obsession or monofocus, you will get good at it, quite simply. As autistics tend to be specialists, we do get very, very good at an area of interest, and for me, that happens to be cooking. Obviously, I can't cook in anyone else's kitchen, heaven forbid. I wouldn't last a day in a cafe, I wouldn't last a day in a cafe, or someone else giving me instructions, because I wouldn't work to someone else's timetable, and I can't work up to speed. But in my own kitchen, I can cook really good meals. I know how to cook because I love cooking, because I'm obsessed with cooking, because it's my absolute passion in life, and it has been kind of since the day I was born. I've loved food. So it's just kind of organically developed from that. But the problem then, it's both a blessing and a curse. I mean, on one level you could say it's good that that my interest happens to be in a functional area. Some people can't even boil an egg, I can surpass that. So you could say on one level it's good that in one functional area at least I can do really well in. I will never I will always know how to eat a balanced diet. I have a very sound knowledge of food science. It's one of my special interests. I will always know how to eat healthily, and how to be creative with food, because it's my area of interest. That's a functional skill. Not many people have that ability. Not even neurotypicals, many people don't eat properly. I have that ability because it's my area of interest. So on one perspective, that's good, that's positive, that's functional, and yet it also denies me support. It's like a kind of both a strength and an extreme weakness. It's only a weakness because of a shitty, crappy society we live in, which doesn't understand disability. It shouldn't be a weakness. It should be something I should feel really positive about, and I do feel positive about it. But when I'm trying to get social care support, I really wish I wasn't so interested in cooking. It is used against me. I do wonder also whether there's a certain level of, not sexism as such, but you've got to remember we live in a gendered society, and if I was raised male, I don't know whether I'd be as interested in cooking as I am, because we are raised in a gendered society, aren't we? If you're male, you are more likely to have certain male-coded interests, and it's probable that on average, boys and men are maybe less likely to develop interest in cooking and homemaking. On average, obviously, I know there are many women female autistics, who also really struggle with cooking and aren't interested in it. But maybe it's like, I don't know what the research is on this, but I'm guessing that possibly slightly more female autistics develop special interests in areas such as cooking, crafting, knitting, sewing, and those areas, because they're coded as more female, and we are in a gender society, and we are exposed to these influences. We are streamlined, aren't we, as we grow up into certain niches, whereas boys are, encouraged to be more interested in computers and, those sort of things. We can't pretend it's not a thing, because it is. However much we want to try, pretend we're gender neutral. Because these things, we're born in a gender society. I don't know. I mean, it's possible if I was a boy, if I was a man, I would be just as obsessed with cooking. But, it is just something to bear in mind. So it might be an extra layer of discrimination if you're female about getting support as well, if one of your areas of interest happens to be in something like cooking. Which many people don't understand as an autism interest. Like, if you're interested in something really kind of niche, like, say, computers, people are like, oh, that's a special autism interest, they see it more as part of the autism. Whereas cooking is quite a mainstream interest. They don't understand, though, it's the intensity and the mono-focus that makes it autistic. Like, lots of people are interested in cooking, lots of neurotypical people love cooking and are passionate about cooking. It's a massive thing, it's a common interest. But the autism means it takes over my life. The autism means I spend hours on it and I can't do anything else, whereas a typical person would love cooking and still be able to do everything else. Right? That's the difference. But that is what these myopic social workers really do not understand. And it's discrimination. And it's because autism is an invisible disability, particularly if you are female presenting, you know what I mean? It's an invisible disability. And, I mean, autism is autism regardless of what gender you are, I don't think that gender changes autism. I disagree with that idea. But I do think that people see you differently if you're a man or a woman because of internal biases. And obviously your interests are likely to be slightly different if you're a man or woman on average, just because of the gendered society that we live in. I say on average because this is a very broad brush. But we can't ignore that. There are these trends, and yeah, so it is unfortunate that my area of interest happens to be in something that is basically quite practical, even though in all other areas I'm hopeless at adulting. But in that one area, I excel. But just because I excel in that one area of cooking does not mean I can maintain a habitable home environment, say, other than in a very narrow part of the kitchen. I can keep the sink tidy, that's about it, although I still clog up the sink. So even there I struggle. And also when there was a leak beneath the sink, I didn't tell my dad because I didn't know how to communicate it until there was like a massive problem and I didn't know how to deal with the plumber. So yeah, so all of those areas of adulting I can't deal with. But because I can cook amazing meals and because therefore I'll never go hungry, apparently I'm absolutely fine. And also, don't forget, because of this gob, my high verbal IQ also makes people think I don't have a problem, despite the fact it's all in writing. All my problems, it's like, that doesn't matter. Look, she can talk, she can cook, she's fine. But I'm autistic, I have a spiky profile. That's the whole point of autism. And it's unfortunate that the two areas I excel in, cooking and talking, are two areas that are kind of prized in society, whereas if I couldn't talk and if I couldn't cook, I would probably get so much more support. Do you know what I mean? So I'm severely disabled, but unfortunately I excel in two areas that society thinks make you have everything sorted, basically. It doesn't work like that. So the fight goes on, but thank you for watching.